third speaker is Tom Revy, Managing Director, BlackEarth Minerals, no liability. With more than 30 years' experience within the resources industry, Tom is considered a corporate and project development specialist with an extensive international network in the mining sector. Having held senior operational corporate positions with reputable organisations including GRD Minproc, Worley Parsons and Ferrum Crescent, Tom is now overseeing the development of graphite projects in Madagascar and Australia for BlackEarth Minerals. Tom is also chairman of Empire Resources and the rural and remote mentoring charity True Blue Dreaming. Would you please welcome Tom?
Thanks, Bill, and thanks, Bill, the other Bill, and the team here for putting this this event together. And I can only echo what the guys have said earlier in terms of the difficulty in putting something like this together. It is a pleasure to be actually live for a change and not have to speak with a Scandinavian bookshelf behind me, a suit up top and tracky pants down the bottom. So it's a great pleasure to be here. BlackEarth Minerals is a company that represents value to current and future investors by progressing in parallel two great opportunities, different in terms of location and development stage, but both are focused on critical commodities. This slide provides an overview. My mistake. As the slide states, we're both an explorer and developer. And over the last 12 months, BlackEarth has also been investigating the potential downstream processing of high-quality graphite flake to produce high-value products for direct sale into the various graphite markets. Most people will be familiar with our flagship MANIRY graphite project located in southern Madagascar, which is due to complete its BFS later in 2021. Our other key asset is the Donnelly River Ni-Cu-PGE prospect, located in West Australia, some 240 kilometres south of Perth, where we have identified a number of key target areas and where we'll be following these up with geochem and geophysical activities in the very near future. With a market cap, which minnows some of the earlier speakers, of around $7 million, $2 million in the bank, the company has only 142 million shares on issue. So leverage in terms of our share price remains very high. As Carl said earlier, our aim is to get people to understand the value that exists in our company today. This slide covers some of the elements I addressed earlier. It also shows our board and management. It's very lean, which is one of the reasons we've been able to progress the company in 2.5 years from first drill hole to BFS for less than $7 million. But it's also a great blend of the necessary skills, knowledge and experience to be able to profitably deliver successful projects in both Africa and Australia. This slide provides an overview of our MANIRY project. Low strip ratio. In fact, for the life of mine, it's 0.9 to 1, and for the early critical 3 to 4 years, it's less than 0.3 to 1. Simple mining with feed material available immediately from surface. Processing to start is only 500,000 tonne per annum, treating soft and low abrasive material. In terms of products, we're aiming to produce around 30,000 tonne per annum, and that'll make us a material global graphite producer. You can also see at the bottom right of this slide the potential revenue that can be generated from downstream processing coarse flake materials. Thus, our interest in pursuing this in our own right. We should have more to report on this specifically in coming months. Also shown on this slide is the fact that we recently signed a binding MOU with RHI Magnesita, a Tier 1 global refractory producer listed on the London Exchange with a market capitalisation in excess of $2 billion. The MOU covers the length of contract, which is significant, basic commercial structure and the agreement to supply MANIRY product to any one of their refractory processing facilities worldwide. This slide highlights a number of key aspects about the MANIRY project. Firstly, it's both technically and financially robust. The project sits within a graphite district, as the large exploration target demonstrates. Again, a key differentiator for us is the fact that our indicated resource sits within a 40-year mining lease already granted to BlackEarth. The total area of leases covered by the project currently equates to around 20 square kilometres. It's very sparsely populated. There's water and a road to a port. I'd like to draw your attention to the comments at the bottom of the slide, which demonstrates the project's sensitivity to grade. This is currently the focus of an upcoming exploration program in an area which has already returned results of 10 to 20% graphite. And again, we hope to report on this specifically soon. Madagascan graphite has been produced and exported for over 100 years and has always been deemed as top quality and coarse. Ours is no exception. The results attained and reported to the market have always exceeded end users' minimum requirements, and this has been achieved using simple and well-proven metallurgy. Even our mid-sized material, for example, far exceeds normal coarse flake expandable results, which has surprised end users in both Asia and Europe. In terms of RHI, because of the low deleterious materials contained within our product, we're working with them to produce a tailor-made product suitable for their high-end needs. Although battery-related materials only currently represents a small percentage of our overall expected profit, our technical results to date have demonstrated that the MANIRY fine to small material is highly attractive to prospective anode producers. From a product perspective, our key differentiator is not only the quantum and quality of coarse material being produced, but the fact that we have had extensive positive test work undertaken by independent laboratories and have had samples from all three key product lines deemed qualified by Tier 1 end users. So where are we headed with MANIRY? The board remains confident in its current pursuits to produce higher value downstream products. The market on both the short and long term is after stable supply of various graphite-related products. As demand increases, there is more and more concern mounting in relation to China's dominance in supply. Global markets are looking for alternative supply sources. Plans are currently underway to commence drilling on the high-grade northwest zone at MANIRY, where previous exploration has returned grades, as I mentioned earlier, of 10 to 20%. Also mentioned earlier, an increase in head grade of just 1% can have a very positive impact on the project's financials. And this area has the potential to increase the head grade by 2 to 4%, and consequently, it's been deemed a priority by the board. The board is reviewing plans to recommence the second stage pilot work by BGRM. One key requirement out of this work is to optimise the current flow sheet as far as maximising coarse flake production, which currently sits in excess of 50% of concentrate production, which ultimately impacts project revenue. We recently announced that David Round has joined us from Bass Metals. David brings first-hand experience not only as CFO of an operating graphite company, but also at selling graphite concentrates globally. We will continue to pursue current offtake discussions, but will also investigate new contacts with whom we've already had initial positive feedback. While terms and conditions will always be kept confidential, BlackEarth will continue to keep the market informed on offtake discussions generally as part of its development of MANIRY. Finally, it's still our intention to complete the MANIRY BFS in 2021. I was asked to include some information on the graphite market, and rather than tell you more about batteries and EVs, etc., I thought I'd comment on it more as an overview, including some of my own observations. I really do believe that there is very little narrative out there that truly and accurately covers the graphite market and respective sub-markets. As the first point states, a lot of market commentary tends to be incorrectly calculated or one-dimensional in its view. The market is dynamic, with competing interests for the same product, and assumptions of near-term production statistics are fundamentally flawed. Issues relating to geopolitics, product sizing, qualification periods, and basic project economics will not see the multitude of new projects coming online as first expected. Many potential developers have moved on to other commodities already. Pricing is not standardised. There is no general graphite price, and the different lines of graphite products vary in price and often have no direct correlation to each other. Market knowledge and networks are the key to maximising revenue. It's a critical commodity for a reason. As the European Union states, from a consumer's perspective, achieving resource security requires action to diversify supply from both primary and secondary sources, reduce dependencies and improve resource efficiency and circularity, including sustainable product design. From the US perspective, it just needs the stuff. It needs it from a future energy requirement, and it currently produces zero. And finally, don't underestimate the value of graphite to organisations both inside and outside of China. As highlighted earlier, graphite's criticality is unquestionable, not just from an EU and US perspective, but from a Chinese perspective. China Minmetal's graphite subsidiary was only created in December last year to ensure market dominance continued in this commodity. What China lacks, however, is access to ongoing coarse flake material, a product that our MANIRY project is truly blessed with. And from here, there's a giant chasm, a chasm between investors' understanding and end users' needs, but this is closing and will continue to close further as the demand for specific graphite product grows from both a quantum and a supply risk perspective. And now for something completely different. Donnelly River. Donnelly River has been deemed by BlackEarth to be an exceptional exploration play. Ideally located in West Australia's southwest and sandwiched between Chalice and Venture Minerals tenements, this project demonstrates high prospectivity for nickel, copper and PGEs. I promised as a metallurgist to myself many years ago I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to show some exploration technical drawings. This regional image shows our area of interest as a nickel bullseye, last explored some 30 to 40 years ago, literally around this point here. And when you look at it from a scale perspective and it stands out that much, that's what excites us. This slide shows the location of historic geochem samples with a clear cluster around the bullseye itself in this area here. As mentioned previously, our Donnelly River prospect lies encapsulated by Chalice and Venture Minerals joint venture, where two key prospects have already been identified: Thor to the west and Odin to the east. The ultramafics, as identified in the picture to the right, clearly demonstrate their area of interest extending into what is our project area. And I'm referring specifically to this black square actually being in this area across here, where the ultramafics actually cross the borders. In Chalice's most recent annual report, they refer to the Thor prospect as a Julimar lookalike, further encouragement that we're in the right address. Based on the review of data to date, we believe this deserves more than just a nearology tag, and the board is backing this with a focused exploration program starting immediately. I won't go into every detail here, but this slide shows the exploration program BlackEarth plans to undertake over the next few months, subject of course to the normal COVID outbreaks, availability of personnel, equipment, etc. The outcome from this project is to identify clearly defined targets ready for exploration drilling in the first half of next year. The board is committed to this program as a priority also, and consequently we expect continuous news flow from here starting shortly. And speaking of news flow, over the next 3 months, we'll certainly be bringing out news in regards to our pilot 60-tonne pilot trial being undertaken in Beagram. Obviously, the exploration activities will report on in coming months and into next year. Exploration activities at Revy, which is our high-grade northwest zone at the MANIRY graphite project in Madagascar, where we're focusing on high-grade resources for those first critical years. Continue our BFS activities and continue offtake arrangement discussions. And with that in mind, I thank you for attention. Thank you very much.